The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show. Here we go.
Yes. We are back. How you feeling today, Big Ragoo?
Doing good, brother. We're here to do your conference, your number one conference.
Hey, you know, Mountain West where I do it the best. So let me bless this show with a good old what up, thou? Because we're gonna do it big in 2022, man, and we're gonna keep this train rolling, man. So we made it over to the Mountain West. If you guys haven't took a look at some of the content we put out already, please go take a look to subscribe. Go back. We got it broken down into small segments and individual schools. So if it happened to be your favorite school, don't. We have some bad comments in the comment section, Big Ragoo, but mostly it's from people who team, you know, that they're a fan of that team, and every time we talk bad about a team, we get that kind of backlash. But I mean, we have to keep it true from a betting perspective because we plan to lay our real money on this. So if I feel like somebody's a bum and I'm willing to put my money behind it, then so be it, man. But somebody was really upset in the comments on some stuff we made on some of those teams that we didn't fare out well with.
Yeah, a little misinformation, not intended, but you know, we corrected ourselves, and it happens. You know what I mean? Because we get our information where we get it. We get some magazines, and they might have a typo and whatnot. And if we don't do our homework, I mean, we can't peel back all the onions, but you know what? During the season, we're laying like you said, we're laying our money on the line, and it's, you know, we break these things down. This is just a preview, guys. It's a preview, and you know, once we get into the nuts and bolts of everything, you know, then you know, we're going to have sharp information, but you know, we're just giving you general information right now.
Yep, and plus nobody's perfect, so calm down.
Hell no.
It's the Boss and the Sauce. We have fun over here. Join us for a good time. Shout out to my man It's Snizzle in the chat right now, man.
It's Snizzle.
Nice to have people in the chat that I actually know, dabbed it up with, had a drink with, had a conversation with. I appreciate you guys for supporting us above and beyond, man. So shout out to It's Snizzle, man. I think I'm just jump on into it, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's jump on into it. So the Mountain West Conference Media Day was just a few days ago. The Mountain West Conference laid their predicted, you know, powerhouses or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go over to the mountain section of the Mountain West. And first off, they went with Boise State to come take the number one spot in the mountain. Now, Boise State, they get Andy Ambelos for the second year. Second year coaching, second year at the school. Last year he went 7-5. My boy Tim Plow, he's going to be offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator Spencer Danielson's, he's still there. Now this team did have their ups and downs last year. When they played great, it showed, and when they didn't play so well, it showed as well. They took off a little early and fell flat in some spots. It was a real strange feeling for a traditional team like Boise State to be 7-5 last year, but they did play hard though. You know, on offense, they scored 29 points a game. They ran for 120 on the ground. They went for 260 in the air. On defense, they allowed 19 points a game. They gave up 157 on the ground and 206 in the air, which is not that bad. So they did survive this year. That year, they didn't win the Mountain West. And coming into this second year with Andy Avalos, Big Ragoo, what do you feel about this team moving forward?
Well, here's the thing I like about Avalos. He's from Oregon, right? He was the defensive guy over there.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly. And
yep.
They got a lot of upside. You know, all things run through our guy Hank, the quarterback. You know, like you said, 29 points per game. You know, I think this team does what it does. You know, it goes back to our way where Peterson was there, then Harrison. So, you know, Avalos, I think he's going to do a lot of nice things over there in long term. But I think the number one thing the thing needs to do here is to kind of get back in that championship form. Because let me tell you something, the mountain side of the conference, you got three teams in there. You know, you got Utah State, who won their first Mountain West championship last year. You got Air Force is always knocking on the door. Then it kind of falls off from there. But, you know, Boise State, I think they're going to do Boise State things like you said. They'll clean up a few things. and I think that they should. I think a New Year's New Year's Eve 6 bowl game is on the front for this team. They're a good solid football team. Just they need to improve on the defensive side of the ball. I think a little bit more, which is his forte too. So I think they get back there this year. I think all things being said, well coached team. They'll be back on back in championship form. I see like a 10-win season on the horizon. At least 9 wins, 10 wins for this team coming up.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll break it down a little bit more on the offensive side. They do get Brackmeyer back, like you said. Brackmeyer has some injuries. He showed some good games and some bad games as well. They also get George Jelani back on the ground, and he's a really good player as well, but injury seemed to stop him at times as well. And this year they're not going to have as much depth as they had before. At the wide receiving position, they lost Shakur. He was a really good receiver, but at times he didn't show up, and some other guys did step up. They're returning a few players back, but they do emerge some new starters as well. On the offensive line, they suffered. They were supposed to be really good last year, but they suffered from injuries as well. So this year, they bring in Washington State transfer Kate Besford. And the coaching over here should be able to coach these guys back into a good position to win some games. Now, on the defensive side of the ball is where I say they struggled a little bit more because of the rushing yards. They got to get a hold of the run. So the top two, Dimitri Washington and Jackson Craven's return, along with some JUCO players on the defensive line. In the linebacker unit, they'll miss Riley Wimpley. That guy was a stud. So they're going to really miss that guy. But they do return Zeke Noah, and I was like Wimpley's right-hand man. So he's a very talented player. I expect Avalos being a defensive coach to figure some things out for the linebacker staff. Then on the defensive backside is where they did fairly well, averaging 206 a game is pretty decent. But sometimes, like we said in the last show, you got to balance. Some teams, if you're getting good yardage on the ground, why pass? So that keeps the passing yardage down as well. But they get all starters back from 2021. This group with a little bit of improvement could do a lot better. Overall, they have 13 seniors, and they're returning 15 starting players from last year, which is a great help for a guy like Avalos. I think many of the players are bought in to this guy, but on a personal note for me, I think Avalos, he has a little ways to go building this team. They constantly wanted to mimic some of the past Boise State teams, but I think this guy is going to have it built a little bit different. And I think, like you said, he'll increase a couple wins this year. But I'm not 100% sure about the New Year's Six bowl game. But I think they're definitely great to get a bowl game for sure this year. What do you think overall going in? Any bet advice or anything with this Boise team?
Yeah, well, I got to agree because, it's 7-5. You're talking about a first-year coach too, number one, okay? So we can't expect miracles right out of the gate, even though the traditions there, like I was mentioning, the prior coaches with Peterson and Harsin, they had their stumbles along the way too. So like you say, everybody automatically thinks Boise, the blue turf, they're going to get to, championship game. And it didn't happen for them last year. So they're going to go through their progressions. They're going to go through their mistakes. Like you said, the big play guys don't always make the big plays. And that's just all part of it, of a first-year coach. But, like you said, they have the talent there. They have the returning starters. They got the depth. So, just making some tweaks here and there, keep them competitive. And, I like them. Like I say, either one of these teams, whether it's Boise, Utah State, or Air Force, they're all going to be right there within one game of each other come towards the end of the season. So I like their look going forward.
I like them definitely to be in the top, but I don't know. I got my eye on another team. I'm ready to lay a future on this one, Big Ragoo. I got to pull up the numbers. I was going to pull it up for this show, but I think moving forward, we're going to go into more of the matchups in the first week and stuff like that, preview some of that stuff. I want to get a little taste of that market and see what it's about. But I got another sleeper here for to win the Mountain West. But let's keep it on going, and we're going to move it on over into that team that I'm talking about, which is Air Force.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, we got Troy Calhoun over here, 16th year here at Air Force. He's 111 and 75 overall. He has Mike Thiessen as offensive coordinator, Brian Noor at defensive coordinator. It's not much to say about the coach personally himself, other than he continues to run the tradition of the school effectively. And I mean, it's not like these guys could be great recruiters or anything like that. But he does what he does. He's 111 and 75 is not bad. He competes at a nice level, especially for being a military team. And those who cap more sports, especially college football, you understand the restrictions of the military team and how that goes. But quick shout out to J Money in the chat, though, man. I thank you for pulling up, man. But I guess everybody know if I'm talking Mountain West, I'm talking business. So let me look into 2021 season for Air Force, which was really great. They were a really strong team. They beat Boise State last year, and they look pretty decent. They did what they did. 31 points a game, 327 on the ground, only 95 in the air, but they did it effectively. The defense held teams to 19.8 points a game, only 102 on the ground, and also 194 in the air. So on paper, you got like a shutdown defense, coming in here. And then excitingly enough, he receives a lot of players back this year. He gets 9 on offense and 6 on defense. Now, anyone who knows anything about the military teams know these players usually have like a 2-year turnover, but because of COVID, because of new rules and all that kind of stuff, we finally get a Air Force team that we got a 3rd-year quarterback coming back in Hazek Daniels. And if this guy could improve even 10% better than last year, knowing the system, how he knows it, and his throwing ability and his ability to make plays on 3rd down, this team can take the Mountain West. Now at running back, of course, they have 4 rushers for attack. You know how they roll with the option offense. And at wide receiver, they get the tandem Kyle Patterson and Dane Kinman. I'm sorry. They return. Now, Patterson was a big target, like I said, on 3rd down. You found this guy slowly moving across the middle to get deep 19-yard first downs and stuff like that out of Kyle Patterson. So this guy knows how to get open. Now, one interesting fact, everybody, take heed and take note, and I guess this applies for all the military teams, is the military has allowed a new rule allowing military members to have more weight according to their duty in the military. Therefore, the offensive linemen and defensive linemen are going to be okay to weigh more or be bigger and heavier in the inside. So if you figure in a team like Air Force, who ran the option really, really well, 327 yards a game last year, is allowed to take those same players who are coming back as they return 7 starters from 2021 that are allowed to get bigger and stronger and come run that same offensive attack, which I think would be really hard for some teams to close the gap on going into 2022. What do you think about all this, Big Ragoo?
I didn't know that. That's a real interest. That adds a whole nother dynamic if they're able to get these kids up to speed. I mean, playing in the conference that they're playing, now you're talking, not for recruiting purposes, but for athletic ability, which, our guys, salute to our kids in the service. They're already going to be in top shape form. And then, they're going to add more muscle. They're not going to have fat. They're going to add muscle on top.
Right.
So, it's going to bring another dynamic. I like that. That's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But, I mean, I don't think it's going to skew the numbers that much more in conference for these guys because they have the number 1 rushing attack in the Mountain West, and they're ranked and in defense, they're ranked number 2 on the defensive side. So it's crazy. And number 1 in yardage and number 4 nationally and points per game. They're around like 19 points a game. So their physicality is going to get stronger. The discipline's definitely there. And you're talking about Daniels, Hazek Daniels. He's the only kid in college football to have a 94-yard run and a TD and a 92-yard pass TD, which is which is amazing. And look for the academies to mix it up a little bit more. Like you said, this kid, he's real athletic. And, with the third down conversions, we're so used to seeing them, run the option. They had the 1,400-yard rusher. And then they got 3 other kids that combined for 1,400 yards for rushing for 3 combined, and then 1,352 yards rushing for Brad Roberts. So, you talk about 3,000-yard rusher season for the number 1 team in the country, leading the rushing attack. I mean, it just you know what they're going to do. Can you stop them? That's the thing, and that's where the physicality and the discipline comes into play with this team. So yeah, you don't have an argument for me. I think they could very well win the Mountain West, the Mountain Division, and get to the championship game. So I like this team a lot. This is a team we usually get behind in certain spots, especially when it comes, for the X's and O's. So yeah, I like Air Force. I like what they're all about. I like what they do, and they're a fun team to watch play football, especially when they play a little bit out of conference, when teams don't see that kind of look. I mean, when they play, even though, like you say, we looked at teams in the ACC, like Georgia Tech, they used to run it. Now they don't anymore. But these teams that are not used to seeing the option, that's when your handicapping's really got to be on point. For the other teams that see them year in, year out, they're kind of used to it. But can they stop them? Do they have the personnel to deal with them? But Air Force is going to win a lot of games this year.
Yep, and just in case y'all didn't know, my man Big Ragoo does really well with the Armed Forces game. He has a lot of insight and a couple tricks up his sleeve when it comes to the Armed Forces. So we talking real business today. But even also on the defense, he gets to return 6 on the defense that did great. He's only losing 1 on the line, which could easily be replaced. He's only losing 1 at linebacker, which is easily replaced. And he's also only losing 1 at the defensive back positions as well. So they get all that great defense back. Experience always helps the team. These guys are older, more focused. They got more time on the experience on the field right now. I mean, everything just looks so well for the Air Force this year. They're returning 15 starters in total. 8 of those are seniors, and they're coming off of a great season. So the sky is definitely the limit for Air Force this year. I would say if you can get anything plus 200 or more for Air Force to win the Mountain West, go for it. I don't know what it is right now, but if you can get double your money or more, go for it. It's a really good, exciting look. But being that they brought them in at number 2 in the Mountain West, they may know it as well. So we'll see if they adjust.
So they rank number 2 overall in the Mountain West, or just in the Mountain Conference?
In the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's what you talk about, betting them in the Mountain, the division.
Yeah, mostly in the Mountain. Yeah, but we're gonna keep it a wrap right there. You got any closing notes on Air Force?
No, that's pretty much it. You hit them all. I got that middle part, where, like I say, just to reiterate what you were saying, and a lot of the numbers, and the talent. That's a great angle on the addition of the weight, because that's going to amount to muscle mass and more physicality for this team.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and move on over into last year's champion, Utah State. Now, they'll probably, if the success continues over there, they'll probably write a book about this guy, Blake Anderson, somewhere in the future, coming from Arkansas State, losing some family members, kind of like starting his life over, coming over here to Utah State. First year in, boom, wins the championship. And he didn't win the championship just as though if he just knew something better or it was the element of surprise or anything. This guy had players that left it out on the field every game. They played every quarter to the end. So a couple games even got taken down to the last tick, and they did their best to win, and they won the Mountain West Championship. So Blake is been coaching 9 years overall. It's his second season at this school right here. He's 62-40 as a coach, and he's 11-3 right here at Utah State. He has offensive coordinator Anthony Tucker, defensive coordinator Ephraim Banda. He had an awesome first year. There's not much more I can say about that. But like I said, the numbers may show a little bit of difference when I'm telling you that some of these games were just close. It wasn't like he just blew these teams out the water. The offense scored 32 points a game. 142 on the ground, 303 in the air. They allowed 24 points a game, but they also allowed 161 rushing per game, and they also allowed 230 yards in the air. So these weren't low-scoring, very disciplined type games. These games got out of hand, and they were able to come back together and recoil and do a better job. But Mountain West put them at number 3 in the Mountain. What you got them at, Big Ragoo? What do you think of the chances of this guy coming back?
Oh man, I mean, I like it. I mean, what's not to like it? Especially after that first year. I wouldn't call it a Cinderella season because you don't come out of the gates, especially in a conference like the Mountain West where you have the standards like Boise and Air Force. You come in there and you dominate a convincing 10-win season, a lot of close games, and that's what the good teams win. So they bought in early. He was able to bring Logan Bonner with him from Arkansas State when he made the move. So that was like the whole key for that whole offense, kind of getting put, 3,600 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, just a lot of 36s all over the place. They get their whole offensive line back, I believe, too. So that's a good look there. And like you said, a lot of those wins, they weren't like where they just kind of came in there and walloped everybody. But good teams, they win close games like they did. And they had a real impressive bowl win going away against Oregon State, 34-13. So, I mean, that was like putting the stamp on the season for him. So it was probably an emotional thing for him, because like you said, given the circumstances that he kind of made it over to Utah State. But I like what they did. I think it's a solid football team. I think it was the right coach, at the right time for that squad. And he basically turned that whole program around in a year, which is, you don't see that every day. So I don't know if it's going to be an aberration, but I doubt it. I think he's got whatever he put together on that field, they did it, and they did it consistently. That was the thing. If it was a fluke, maybe 1 or 2 games, but to do what they did, and their preparation, it was pretty impressive. Actually, probably one of the most impressive stories in college football.
Yeah, I mean, to put it simply, you could throw a lot of the success on Logan Bonner because the few games he was injured, they lost. As soon as he came back off of injury, they won again. Yeah. So he was a great instrument. I mean, I see it a couple places right now, not only in the Mountain West, but in other conferences as well, as coaches, because of the transfer portal, are bringing players over with them. We got Caleb over there with Lincoln Riley at USC. And, Bonner came along, and it worked wonderful for a player to know the scheme and all that. Even like I said, they were down at points and came back. So he was able to rally the team like, hey, this is how the scheme goes, or this is how it goes. And, and having the experienced players out there played a great part. And we must give some respect to Justin Rice on the defense. That guy played phenomenal. And he was another follow. He even played a year at Fresno State and was one of the best players over there and left when this guy came over here. So this year, the offense is returning 8 total, and 7 of those are seniors. At running back, they returned Calvin Tyler, another great guy over there. At receiver, they do lose 3 people, but they returned 6'6", 220 Justin McGriff, along with a couple transfers from Alabama and Brian Cobb from Maryland. And on the offensive line, 4 returners with experience should be great, but they do add BYU transfer Cade Parrish. I'm not sure. I guess it's just to cover depth, because depth could be the biggest issue for a second-year coach, because he hasn't had a chance to recruit all of the players and get them ready. So he doesn't have a bunch of redshirt freshmen or anything coming up. He has whatever the guy before him left him, and maybe a little bit more. So depth and health could be an issue over here. And I think that may be the biggest reason why they come in the number 3 spot, because the quarterback returning, I mean, they jumped out of their seats every year when Carson Strong returned with Jay Norvell. So Logan Bonner coming back with Blake Anderson should be just important. But on the defense, maybe is where it suffers. They got 3 returners on the defensive line and transferred from Nevada. At the linebacker spot, no more Justin Rice, who was one of the greatest over there last year. But they get another Arkansas State transfer, Anthony Switzer. So this guy must have played under the system as well before he comes over. At defensive back, they only get 2 returners, and they get a transfer from Miami, Gervin Hall. Once again, depth could be a concern right there. I see that the element of surprises will be gone as well because these guys have film on Anderson and what he does, so that should tighten up a little bit. And um, he's Anderson. He may over prepare because he's like when you play against defenses like Wyoming and San Diego State. I mean, even if you survive the storm, and even the Air Force, even if you survive the storm, you still may have some type of shell shock going into it because those guys play so physical and all that. So I'm sure he's trying to instill the importance of being tough and physical now. And you don't want those things to sidetrack you off of what got you to the championship in the first place. But one of the wonderful things about Blake Anderson, what got him into the championship is players who believed in him. He had some adversity in his life. He shared it with his family, his team. His team became his family, and so forth and so on, and they wrote it all out, man. I think we get a movie out of that one someday.
Yeah, no, it's a good story. It's definitely inspirational. Yeah, the only thing I would add to what you said is basically a lot of the same. With the shock factor. They're going to have some film. Some looks now, but defensively is probably going to be their weakest point. So they're like in the bottom. Bottom quarter of a lot of this stuff, defensive numbers. So, they had to win it to put the back, like you say, come back late, put it on the quarterback to get the job done. So they're gonna have to clean up some stuff on the defensive side if they're gonna be consistent.
Absolutely, man. But that's it for Utah State. I don't have any betting advice for those guys. You definitely have to just watch and see what goes on over there. If it's true coaching, the guy could take them right back to the championship, win or lose. But if it was just the right players, the right time, emotional type thing, then we should see them step down maybe to the number 2, number 3 spot over in the mountain. But let's move over into this interesting team right here. Colorado State Rams. Steve Adizio is out of here. I believe it was some drama on the field about him when he left his last game or something like that. Whole bunch of controversy over here as they bring in Jay Norvell, who was Nevada's coach. And you find this sometimes, but it's a little bit rare that you get these conference coaches jumping over in the conference right there. And this guy takes his star 8 with him right on over to
Deja vu, right?
Colorado State. And the funny part about it is Colorado State, one of the worst teams in the Mountain West last year. What did they go? 3-9, 2-6 in the conference. Only scored 23 points a game, gave up 28. They were upside down. They rushed for 164 yards on the ground and allowed 166 on the ground on defense. They went for 251 in the air and allowed 211 on defense. So they had their little spots where they did some good. Like they had one of the top pass rushing attacks, and the defensive backs do well over there. But in the midst of everything, those guys left and moved on as well, hit the transfer portal. So kind of a clean slate for Novell, and he brings his 8 with him along with a whole bunch more too. I can't even remember what the number is. I just know for sure that it's 8 from Nevada, but overall it's probably about 15 transfer portal players that Jay goes and hits right here. And I'm not going to even go deep into it. I'm gonna have the write up after we run these videos. The write ups that I have in my hand here, I did them all on Google Docs, so I'm gonna share those with everybody, and you can go through it a little more thoroughly, position by position. But I don't know. It sounds kind of crazy, and it may just be one of those better things. But this guy Jay Norvell kind of creeps me out right here. This was about money as well. And the money situation is weird because Jay Norvell did on paper what he was supposed to do at Nevada as far as bringing in talent and winning games. He didn't win the big one, but he did do well with, he had some NFL players in there. And even Carson Strong was a well-touted player. But they didn't want to pay him what he wanted. But so people felt that they didn't want to invest the money that they should into the team. So he leaves and they decide to invest a little more money into it and bring somebody else in. So he comes over to Colorado State, who's a team that's saying that, hey, we want to invest a little more money into our team as well. And they get Jay Norvell. But I talked about this a bunch of times in a bunch of the previews, but to me, it just feels like way too many moving parts for me to say that this is going to be the team to do anything this year. It's one of those things we just got to watch, Big Ragoo.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, as far as the move goes for Norvell, if you go back and look, even you got to look at the school as a whole. Nevada had a basketball coach that was a pretty good one too, and they let him slip through the fingers, Musselman. So what's really going on with the alumni and the big money backers up there? To let a guy like this come over to Colorado State, and this is like the 5th coach in 15 years for Colorado State. So they got a revolving door with coaches. They can't get to your 3rd and 4th year looks like you like to have, consistently. But it's kind of almost the same scenario, but the difference here, versus somebody like Anderson coming over, from Arkansas State. He's coming over in conference, and he's bringing a whole mess of talent with him. But his talent, the backup quarterback, Clay Millen, he was the backup for Carson Strong, so he doesn't have the experience. So this is going to be more of a longer term process, a rebuild, if you will. With the whole program as a whole. He brings over Freddie Banks, who was his DB coach in 2020. He's going to be running the defense, and he's the only thing he's really got. He's got a couple returning offensive players, and to me, this is a total reboot. So. Up in the air, maybe I could see maybe 5-6 wins. That they'll compete a little bit here and there, against lower tier teams in conference, maybe an out of conference cupcake game type of thing. But if they win 6 games, they might be going to a bowl, and they haven't been to a bowl in a while either. So I think they could do it. I think they could probably win 6 wins, throughout the season somehow, some way. And there'll be some struggle spots here for sure, but. This is definitely a rebuild, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I expect Jay Norvell's offense to show up, so he's going to put some points on the board, and throughout the Mountain West, he should find some spots to get some W's in. So yeah, like you said, about 6 wins, but no great success. Not going to be the same story as Blake Anderson. It's not even the same difference, but
right,
too much money.
Scenario. That's why I said I was kind of hinting deja vu in the beginning, but I knew deep inside that there's no way that this team's going to come off and pull off what they did, especially with the underclassmen and the inexperience. But he does have, like you say, a lot of the same type pieces coming with him, but it's a different scenario altogether.
Yeah, and then once again, too many moving parts, too many guys he pulled over with him. Who knows? Moving people from school to school, state to state. That's a lot on a kid, changing environments. Young kids like those, the least bit of anything could change their whole life around in a matter of minutes sometimes. So all that movement, some should fall down and some should stand up. So it's gonna be some balance that has to go on over there. So like you said, 6 wins sounds great, but let's jump up out of there and go over to my boy Craig Boyle, if that's how they say it, Craig Boyle. But he's a Wyoming Cowboys coach over here. This is his 20th year coaching, 9th year at the school. His record is 149-82. Right here, he's 45-50, so he's a little below standard, right here. But he runs the traditional Wyoming offense and defense well, with offensive coordinator Tim Pozak and defensive coordinator Jay Swivel. The staff returns a mediocre 2 wins in the Mountain West from last year. I could say that they might be getting tired of Craig Boyle if he doesn't do something this year. He's going to have to jump out of this some way, somehow. But the bad part about it is he builds such tough players that many of those players jumped portal and went to bigger schools. Some of these guys are over at bigger schools, which says a lot about those type of athletes that he has over there. But last year they were 7-6, 2-6 in contra. As I mentioned, he kind of got off to a good start playing out of conference, but as he got in the conference game, it got a little bad for him. So a lot needs to be done with this team right here, and he gets 0 seniors to help him out right here. So the quarterback debate will be over this year. Do we go with Levi or do we go with Shine? Guess what? They both left. So this year, this position's wide open again. They bring in Utah State transfer Andrew Peasley to lead the way. And they have a red shirt and a JUCO player as well that's going to be competing with him. Right at running back, Valladay, one of the greatest, forward, I say strong runners that they had in the Mountain West. He's out of there. He transferred, but he leaves it over to Titus Swin. He did a pretty good job last year. It's like a duo, and he got a little depth to go with him. So they may be well off at the running back position. At the receiver position, he only gets 1 solid returner, and he gets 2 at the tight end spot, though. So they use the big tight ends pretty good for blocking and passing over at Wyoming. So some good tight ends could help the quarterback situation. But basically, it's all going to rely on the quarterback situation. If the quarterback can come in, which the quarterback at Wyoming has been a facilitator for a long time because they run a strong running game. But we notice with Levi that when they can open it up and pass it a little bit and the quarterback could be a little more mobile, that it was a little more worth it for him. So now they got in Andrew Peasley, you get a little bit of both, a guy that can throw the ball and he can take off and run it too. So if the quarterback fares well for him, they got 4 on the line returning to block for him. So I think they could protect them pretty well. And that'll be his best hopes we can get going on the offense would be for this to come together, in this odd form.
Yeah. I mean, the kid that's coming over from Utah State, like he was, when Bonner came over there, then that kind of sealed the deal for him. So now he's over with Craig Boyle over at Utah. Over at Wyoming. But here's a head scratcher for me with this Wyoming team. We know they're a gritty team, especially at home. When they're playing at home, that Wyoming defense. But they have the number 1 passing defense, right? They've got the number 2 rushing offense in conference, but they're horrible at stopping the run in conference. They're like ranked 11th. So if you can run the ball on the offensive side, you think you'd be able to figure out how to stop the run if you're really good at it, But and you're right, I have to agree with you because maybe they're getting a little antsy up there in Laramie, with his record, but he produces some talent. The kid now, this kid Peasy, they're saying, the Wyoming fans are really excited about him. They said because he reminds me of another guy that plays in Buffalo right now, named Josh Allen. Now I can't draw a comparison just yet because it's way too early. But they said he's kind of a raw talent. He's got all the tools, all the weapons. So they really like this kid coming in. So maybe he's kind of like you said with Levi. He's done some things in the past, but there's a lot of changes going on here. And Laramie. So, but the one thing that's consistent is, they're going to play Craig Bowl football, and we know what they do there. So I think they need to clean up the pass, the run defense. They got the number 1 pass defense for sure. And, they're always in those low total type scoring games when they play in Laramie. So they need to get a little better on the road, clean up the run because, people are going to try to run the ball down. And if they don't do that, then you're going to get more of the same with the same result. It's not going to be good for Craig Bowl long term.
Hey, my hats off to Craig. He gets the bad end of the stick of the transfer portal. Yeah. Not being able to keep his athletes. He's been there way long enough to have depth shouldn't be an issue at this point. If these players wasn't able to just get up and bounce
that's my keynote. He's getting bit by the transfer portal, you know what I mean? That keeps biting, especially now, a couple of years ago it wasn't so bad, but now it's just like, they're often running to the bigger schools, like you say.
Yep. So, he reached deep in the transfer portal, and he also threw a little JUCO in there as well. So, if you're a good coach and you got an eye for talent, you might be able to turn some of those young men into grown men on the field. So I think he has that type of talent. His defense is possessed at times, and it shows. And that has a lot to do with coaching. Some of those players may not even play at that level again, and some of those players are going to take what they learned from Wyoming, they take it over to the NFL places, and they apply it, and it does even better for them. So, great player coach, caught the bad end of the transfer portal. His team should have been in the top 3 coming into this year if he gets to keep all his pieces and he brings over just that quarterback. Oh, it'll look nice. But for all that he lost on offense and defense, it's going to be a struggle. So let's jump on over.
He's got the best of both worlds. Like he's got the top 2 pieces on both sides of the ball, but they can't put it together, which is, it's mind-boggling. It really is.
Yeah, it'll be very impressive if he pulls his way out of this. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But let's jump over to another team, and I just sometimes I have high hopes for this team, but sometimes I think I could go out there and do a better coaching job than they do on offense, and that's New Mexico Lobos with Danny Gonzalez. His 3rd year here, 3rd year at the school, 3rd year coaching. He's 5-14 in his career as a coach. He has offensive coordinator Derek Wareheim, and he has one of the best guys I respect the most at defensive coordinator, Ricky Long, who basically built the defense that San Diego competes at. He's the author of the 4-2-5, the 3-3-5. He gets all his money's worth out of those defenses. But it seems as much as he's tried over here, he just can't get it to work. And that just goes into normal football. Like if the offense can't hold the ball on the field, I don't care how good the defense is, having to keep going back out there and defend, it wears them down, and eventually it creates a floodgate. Once you find a good opening in the defense, the other coaching staff just manipulates that. So that's what's been going on here at New Mexico. Rocky Long's been coaching the defense in just as he does slowly. Not that they're super impressive on the field, but they are on the field all the time because the offense are not doing nothing for them. Last year, they averaged 12 points a game, 120 on the ground, 114 in the air. The defense allowed 28.4 points a game, which should have been like 50. And they only allowed 143 on the ground and 219 in the air. So it's not much that I can say positive about the offense. And this guy, Danny Gonzalez, he's supposed to be the offensive genius. He tried to get out there the first year, call the plays himself. But this year, he returns 4 on offense, 7 on defense. He doesn't have much good to look for. And I don't really see anything that's even a great highlight. At quarterback, he has last year 5th string walk-on Isaiah Chavez and CJ Montez. They're going to battle for the starting job with a transfer, Miles Kendrick from Kansas. May the best player win. I don't know. We still don't know what we're going to get. I think it's deeper rooted in the X's and O's because this guy doesn't know if the run or the pass is what's important, and he's obviously can't get out of 3rd down. So I could go over what they lost and what's coming back all over the field, but when the scheme is bad, the scheme is bad.
Yeah, they're one coach away from being an FCS program. And one coach I'm talking about is your guy Rocky Long, because his footprint's all over the Mountain West. As far as like you said, with the defensive schemes he puts together, and New Mexico's like dead last in almost every offensive quarter or category in FBS, like 130th, 129th. So. And it's all on the offense's back. Like you said, it's surprised that they're not getting scored 50 points a game against, because I'm surprised they're sitting at 28. And they're like right there in the middle too, conference-wise in all the defensive categories. So, that speaks volumes about Rocky Long, obviously. But, and that's where it's at with this team. Just no offensive production whatsoever. Can't sustain any kind of drive. They're dead last in scoring points. And not that we're going to sit here and beat up on them, the whole, breaking them down, we're talking about them, but that's it in a nutshell, and if they were to put up an offense, their defense will be that much that much better, possibly, a couple 4 or 5 points a game, possibly, but, it all comes at time of possession. And if it wasn't for the defense, it'd be a lot worse, even though it is ugly for them as a whole, in the offensive side of things. And where you finish up in the game only scoring 12 points a game. It'd be a lot worse if the defense wasn't there. They'd probably get outscored by another 20 points a game or something like that. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, unless Danny can pull something out of his behind to make this offense take off, I think that he's going to be threatened with getting fired. It can happen during the season on this one because, one of their great rivals is New Mexico State. And New Mexico State is kind of thriving. They're getting talked into new conferences and all kinds of stuff. So I think with the rise of New Mexico State, I think he got to get his stuff together. If New Mexico's going to get it right at any time, either he puts up or it gets out. Right now, they're going to risk losing Rocky Long in the meaning, but I mean, you'll do better off with a new talent at coach. Give it a couple years, build in some more recruits, and go from there. But this team, I'd hate to say teams because we get a lot of bad comments, but I hate to say bad things about teams, but I think they end up in the same position. 3 wins.
Well, when we talked about the COVID year, saving coaches' jobs, I think this was one of the guys that got saved because, like you say, he's in his 4th year now, and I mean, if there's no step forward, I can't see him sticking around another season.
Yeah, I'd fire him if I was if I was in control because and that wouldn't even just be on his record. I would, like I said, I would say it's on the field too. Like he can't prioritize the run or the pass, and the players are in the limbo. I seen some good athletes out there. So it's not that they don't have the talent per se. I think they have enough to compete, but I think it's totally just not a good scheme. The scheme is not working on offense. So that's it for the mountain side of the Mountain West. We're going to wrap that up and leave it right there. What do you think overall, Big Ragoo? Like I said, the only thing that I would say, I would stand on the ledge and have Air Force to win the Mountain West Mountain for sure. I wouldn't say the whole conference. Well, I would say the whole conference, but just speaking on the mountain, I think that's the only mistake that they had is that they really should have took a chance and give Air Force their due and let them be number one, but only because the whole Mountain West has been Boise State biased the whole time. They still throwing Boise State as number one. So I think that might be a position to fade Boise State when they give up too many points. Maybe if they're not gonna, it's gonna be a little tighter than they making it seem.
Well, if you look at like I say, it falls off pretty quick once you get beyond Boise, Utah State and Air Force. Air Force probably the most consistent one, recent, right? And then Utah State had that, that great season last year. Then Boise's kind of a little bit down, first year coach. So you got to give the consistency because, 2 newer coaches with Boise and Utah State and Air Force is going to do what Air Force does well. There's no secret they're coming at you with their game plan. So, yeah, I have no argument, with you on Air Force, getting it done there. But then again, we'll see if Utah State falls down a little bit and Boise rises back up. But, yeah, no argument with me, legitimate. The Mountain West, and just from the outside looking in, definitely, you won't have an argument with me about Air Force taking that division.
Yeah, well, my man Daryl Turner in the comments says, like Utah State or Air Force to win the conference. Well, we just said it right here. Air Force, I take all day in the Mountain West. I think it's worth putting your money behind for sure. It's a lot of value and all that good stuff over there. But that's it for the mountain. Let's jump over to the Mountain West, the west side of the mountain, where it's a little more of a fair fight throughout this thing right here with the coaches changes. I don't know if we get another Utah State or another Cinderella team or something like that. I think it might come out of the west side of the Mountain West. But the Mountain West Conference heads over there, they have Fresno State Bulldogs coming in at number one on this side. They get Jeff Tedford back, who left the team for medical reasons in 2019. He has a heart condition, and he come back for his job after last year's coach moves on to Washington, and what was that? Kalen DeBoer moves over to Washington. As he moves over, Tedford comes back and gets his job back. So he's here for the first time again, although this is his 4th season coaching for Fresno State, where I think he coached, I want to say Derek Carr. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's one of his products. But he's 108-71 overall. He's 26-14 here at Fresno State. He brings along offensive coordinator Anthony Kirby Moore and defensive coordinator Kevin Cole. After the two nights, like I said, after 2019 is where we didn't see Tedford, kind of left on his own with Cottoness for health reasons, which I don't know how that goes into moving forward. But last year, this Fresno State team under Kalen DeBoer, they did great. Jake Hayner and the troop, he had 33 yards per game, 138 on the ground with Ronnie Rivers, 326 in the air. They only allowed 20 points per game, allowed 125 on the ground, and 222 in the air. So it was a great season in 2021, minus the losses to Oregon, Boise State, and Hawaii. The Bulldogs got to a bowl game win, went 6-2 in the conference, and returns lots of starters this year. So it looks pretty good over here for Fresno State. 6 on the offense, 7 on the defense, 4 seniors on both sides. What do you feel about Fresno State, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, I like the fact that Tedford's back over there. They have probably one of the better offenses in the conference overall. I think they have the best quarterback in the conference. That's my opinion. I think the defense is pretty solid. They're giving up 20 points a game, and I like a lot of looks on this squad here. That they're at the top of the West for a reason, and I don't think they missed a beat with Tedford coming back in there. Because he's an old alum. And he's bringing a lot of those guys are coming back with him to kind of keep the talent on the field. They got a very talented group of wide receivers overall. So I think the only weakness I find with this team in the West is they have some. They have been known to, for the giving the quarterback protection. I think they give up some sacks. So they have to clean that up on the offensive line. But defense looks good. I like this team. I don't know how we're going to back them, until we start looking at numbers and what's coming on going forward. But yeah, strong look for me here with this Fresno squad on the West side.
Well, I'm a little I think not this year, not just yet, but I think Jake Hayner is the best quarterback in the Mountain West. Not say by far, because Brock Myers pretty good as well.
Talented quarterbacks,
but he is arm strength, football IQ. He can move around a little bit. He's a pretty good player, but the problem is 2 things. One is Ronnie Rivers is gone. What was Ronnie Rivers' best asset to the team? Catching the ball out of the backfield. So if we can return one of these running backs to take over his shoes on the running and the catching out of the backfield, then maybe we can continue to put those points and those yards up on the board. They do return 7 of their top 8 receivers, so they're great. But like Big Ragoo said, the line is where the problem is. They lost 3 on the offensive line. They gave up 25 sacks last year. They get 4 players with returning experience, but protection is going to be most important with a passing quarterback like Jake Hayner. So, I think they'll be a really great team, but they may slip up somewhere. I don't know where, but they may slip up somewhere. But also, I got a little inside information on Fresno State as well. And, the whole thing about Jake Hayner, he wanted to leave with DeBoer and go over to Washington. Right. And when he found out going over to Washington, it was going to be a complete makeover for him, he decided to stay at Fresno State. So the players weren't too happy about those decisions, and they didn't welcome him like he wanted to be welcomed back over. And on top of that, he wasn't a big-time favorite of all the other players on the team. But in the area, he is one of the top quarterbacks, skill-wise. So if they can fix the locker room and make this team play one band, one sound, I think the offense, with or without Tedford, they could return back on the field doing a good thing. Defense is where it could be some more slip ups because they never always had the best defense, but the defense did well last season when they needed to do well. Anything you got to say about the defense or the offense?
Yeah, that's a great point about the quarterback, possibly transferring out. But I think you think Tedford had something to do with that, letting him, when he found out who the coach was coming back, that he kind of hung around to play, and then the locker room scenario. I don't know much about that. You know more about that than I do. So.
Yeah, I know brief information. I know a couple guys that party with some of the players, and Jake Hayner ain't always on the invite list. So I don't know how much they like the player. Then when you do a little move like that and people already had something to say about you, now you get in the game and the slight bit that you're not the perfect player, now everybody wants to switch up on you. So that could be a problem in the long run.
But he's going to make them look good in the long run. So, they better.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, especially those receivers, 7 to 8 return, because they know not only was he's a great passer, but he distributes the ball well too. He don't got a favorite receiver. He just get it out there to who he need to get it out there to. So I think that he'll do good on the offensive side. I think the defense probably take a step back, give up a couple more points than normal, but I think they'll compete definitely for the Mountain West title. But I don't know. I think they fall short in the big game just out of not being gelled together like they should be. Too much drama. You got to keep that drama out of your team. You want a team that's tight knit and ready to go. When you start bringing in all kinds of different pieces and people moving around, and every time you turn around, it's a microphone and a camera in your face, and it takes away from the focus of football. But that's just my opinion. But let's jump over into the next number 2 team over here in the West. That's San Diego State Aztecs, who they talk a lot about too. They're in the Pac-12 talk and all this good stuff, but they have a coach who I actually like. I don't know why I like this guy, but I like Brady Hoke. Real thorough guy, man. Stands by what he says and does, and he doesn't always have. He gets the best out of players. He doesn't always have the most talented players. The NFL scouts are not just crawling over this team, even though they're doing only allowing 19 points a game on defense. But when they play on the field, when I watched them in person, at times they look like a high school team, but then they look like a high school team that just played so disciplined and ran the scheme so well that, it works out for them. But this is his 15-year coaching, 4th year at this school, which is a charm. I'm 3rd and 4th year coaches. I like it. And overall, he's 94 and 78. Right here at San Diego State, he's 29 and 18. His offensive coordinator is Jeff Helensky, and his defensive coordinator is Kurt Maddox. So Hoke has done a good job continuing the culture of San Diego State, which is big offensive line, real heavy downfield rushing, and lockdown defense, especially in the air, especially against the run. And like I said, out of athletes that are not the biggest in the world, but just very athletic. So they often scored about 27 points a game, 174 on the ground, 167 in the air. They had 19 points on defense. They allowed only 88 rushing and 244 in the air. So they could this year get some help bringing back that lockdown defense. That too something kind of came as the season progressed because they kind of had it down for a while. They was top in covering the pass, but it got away from them towards the end. So big controversy over there was the quarterback situation where they use the quarterback often. Well, luckily this year, both of them depart. They bring in Virginia Tech transfer Braxton Broomeister. There you go. And this guy is pretty good. Supposedly he left because of coaching change, not because he wasn't the best player and nothing like that. And what Brady Hoke could use very good over here is a passer with an IQ. Because those guys are open. I mean, I went to one of the games and I ended up sitting next to one of the players' father who, his son played wide receiver. I believe it was number 89 or something like that. He had a big number. But he kept saying, you know, he's of course that guy's watching the sun the whole time, and every play they went to do the pass, he kept saying he's open, he's open. So I took a little time out to take a look at it too, and yes, indeed, he was open as open. They just couldn't distribute the ball well, and that was the game when they played New Mexico State, the first game, the opening game, and they were losing at halftime, and they had to come back, and the defense had to score to help bring them back, but definitely couldn't find the targets right there, and now they're receiving a quarterback that can get the job done. Now, on running back, they lose their number one, Greg Bell, who was a workhorse from last year. But this year, they get number two back, Chance Bell, along with some depth, and USC's Keenan Christian. So the running back spot, they look well. They got a quarterback back that can throw the ball. I think they always had the receivers there. I don't know why schools that are heavy running schools have such great receivers that stay there for so long, and they rarely get to, you know, catch the ball like that. But I think that they have the talent at wide receiver to get the job done. I think they got the quarterback that they need. And this San Diego team, who we always looked at for the under, could become an over team because of the passing. And we seen that last year in the outer conference game where they put up like 40 and 50 points when we never thought they could.
Yeah, I like this team. You know, Brady Hoke, he's a player, like you said, the players, they like him. I mean, they had a great season, 12-2. They got to the Mountain West Championship game, right? They lost to Utah State last year. And this is the fourth quarterback in as many years, the fourth year. So they get the grad transfer, Baumeister from Virginia Tech, which is he's a good quarterback. And I think, you know, there's a ground control type offense, like you say, you know, just averaging 27 points per game. And their defense, you know, they're number one versus the run, 80 yards per game. They only give up on the ground. So a lot to build on there. You know, just I think this team can make a run for sure, you know, come back right where they came. They're putting a lot of stock, like you said, back in Fresno. But this team's going to be knocking on the door pretty hard here. And they have a lot of good looks, you know, plus 10 in the turnover margin. So, you know, like you said, like a downhill type team, you know, in the trenches, plays good defense. They get a kid, maybe they change the dynamic just a little bit to put a little different spin on things to kind of take them right back where they left off last year. So it's all going to be on that quarterback, you know, transfer quarterback coming in. I think Hope, he's a pretty sharp cookie. You know, he's the ex-Michigan guy that they gave a lot of a guff to when he was over there. But I think I think he's found a home out in the West Coast in San Diego State. I like what he does out there.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. You know, last year in the big Mountain West championship game that they lost, you know, I had an inside connection that told me that the tight ends was going to be out for COVID, but I didn't calculate it in there. So the two best tight ends was out for COVID in there. So they lost two big targets right there. So a lot of people say they were lucky last year. I think it was the proof was definitely in the pudding. It was just a stud team. Like they play no bells, no whistles. They don't need all that extra, you know, stuff to know that they're good. They just play really well on the field. And now the defense, they're only going to be suffering from some defensive players that left on the line, but they do have some depth. And like I said, it's the scheme. So I think they should return well. They get 3 back at the linebacker position. And they also get 5 coming back in the secondary. And the secondary needs a little work on paper from last year. I think they could take that 260 down to like 210 or less easily this year coming up. But the secret gem to the whole thing is these guys got their new stadium and it's open September 3rd for the opening day. So I think that the San Diego town, which I like so much when I visit San Diego, it's a wonderful place. You ever get a chance to go, definitely go to San Diego. But they getting what they want. The people of San Diego, they love San Diego, so they're going to be there to support them. I expect big things out of San Diego State. If you're looking at a Cinderella team, which they wouldn't really consider to be because they did so well last year, but this team could run the tape. You know, they could be much improved on offense. They already have the defense that could only sustain the same thing or even better. So I think they could take the West.
Yeah. San Diego's got great fans, that's for sure. I know they love. I know they love the Chargers. They love they love their Navy
Padres,
over
boy,
there.
the Padres.
Man, Padre, it's great. It's a fun place to go watch have sports. I know the Warriors used to play there years ago, and when they left, they were sad about that. But yeah, San Diego's a great sports town, and great atmosphere, great everything over there. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, he hit some good points here overall. Like you say, they're going to be right back in the thick of things, and look for good things for San Diego State this year.
Let's go Aztecs. And I think I'm gonna have to because right here at the Dignity Center, I was getting $12 tickets, $10 tickets. Didn't nobody want to go to the game at the temporary stadium, but over here I might have to pay that $32 to go see San Diego
There
State
you
at the
go.
new stadium. Be a wonderful evening out for me and the wife. But let's jump on over into the number 3 spot, and this is a very interesting spot too, because this guy was the 2020 champion, and I had high hopes for him as a coach, but last year didn't fare out so well for him, and that's Brent Brennan over here at the San Jose State Spartan. This is 6-year coaching, 6-year at the school. He's 20 and 32nd, very upside down as a coach overall, and he's only 20 and 37 at San Jose State, but he has a championship. Isn't that's a lot to say right there. But he does really good at what he does. He has offensive coordinator Kevin McGivern and defensive coordinator Derek Odom. So Brendan, I think, could be on the hot seat, but not so much. But I think that I see a future in this guy. I see him elevating up to one of the top 5, somewhere up in there because of his talents of bringing this team that was mediocre and taking them to places they had never been before. So last year, health became an issue. He lost the quarterback that he had, which I didn't think he was going to repeat last year anyway, because the year before when they won, it was because a lot of people stayed behind the play and they had 5 returners on the offensive line. So that helped them all the way to the championship. But last year, 5-7, 3-5 in the conference, only scoring 20 points a game, 120 on the ground, 219 in the air. On defense, they gave up 26.5, which isn't bad. Defense is not even bad. And they were 3-5 in the conference. They only allow 133 on the ground, but they do allow 236 in the air. So the numbers didn't really look good on paper. They were upside down, all kinds of stuff. But yet and still, they come out this year as number 3 in the west part of the Mountain West. What do you think about this situation going down over here?
Yeah,
With
it's this is a team you got to kind of read between the lines on. Like you said, if they just make some little adjustments here and there, like they were ranked, I think nationally number 2 for big yardage plays given up. So in other words, they're giving up plays, but they're not giving up the big plays. So they need to kind of shrink that down a little bit. And then don't forget, didn't they get Cordero from University of Hawaii coming in as a transfer quarterback? So that's going to help them things out for them. I think with that bad situation with Graham that happened in Hawaii. So now you got Cordero coming over. I think there's a lot of big upside for this team. I think 6th year, like you said, a little upside down, coaching wise there, but this is a team that can kind of just jump right back in the thick of things, and just making a few little tweaks here and there. I know it's easy to say that, but for the most part, they got the dual threat quarterback, so that's going to give them another dynamic, for Brennan. So yeah, I mean, maybe I might look at a win total, depending what the over and unders for wins for totals for this team is for the year. I mean, they're a little low on the scoring side, 20 points per game offensively. So if they could bump that number up to like 24, they might get an extra win, 2 wins, over last year. That put them like bowl eligible. Last year we were like 5-7, 3-5 in conference. So I think Cordero is going to bring some nice looks for them, and I think the defense could make some adjustments. They'll be right in the thick of things again. And they're number 3 for a reason, because like you said, San Diego State and Fresno, they're next level teams in that conference, and they're not far behind San Jose. Like you said, a year removed from the championship. Things kind of went sideways for them last year, but they could bounce right back here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great with Cordell. That was a great grab. I think the guy is a run pass threat. On the upside, he looks wonderful. And his bad games are bad too, but the upside looks wonderful. I'll say that. And if
a lot
a
of
coach like
upside here.
a coach like Brennan, he might be able to keep him, calm and collective. Now, running back, they have a lot of talent and experience, including last year's Kyrie Robinson. At receiver, they returned 6 of the top 7. And at offensive line, they have 5 experienced players coming from 2021. In addition to a quarterback that can run and pass, I think that'll be a help, a little relief off for the offensive line as well. So I think they'll do really well, like you said, maybe 25, maybe even I would say on the high side, maybe bump it up to 30 points per game because Cordero, he likes to throw the ball, he likes to roll out of the pocket, run or pass, and just Nick Starko and them, they didn't have that type of athleticism to move around on the offense. Now on the defensive line, he's getting the top 6 back, including his NFL-bound defensive end, Caden Hall, who's a really talented player. He's touted to be top in the Mountain West this year, although there's a lot of talented defensive ends out in the Mountain West. On the linebacker position, he gets 3 starter returners, including the stud, Kyle Harmon. Then on the defensive back, allowing 236 yards passing was a problem in 21. This unit returns 3, but needs to improve dearly. Not sure why no transfer players in this spot right here would have been the best spot to bring in a couple guys. But overall, I think Brennan definitely gets to a bowl game with this group this year. He has a total of about 11 to 12 seniors somewhere up in there. So I think they definitely go up from last year's – what were they, 5 and 7? I give them another 2 or 3 wins next year, maybe 8 and 4ish with a bowl game. But I don't think they could see San Diego State nor Fresno State in the long run. And then even if they get to the Mountain West Championship and they have to see Air Force, I think they'll roll over on them too. So it's going to be a great season. I'm going to be looking for those stadium days at San Jose State where they have free beer and all that kind of crazy stuff. San Jose State's pretty much a party school out in the Bay. So when they out partying, they do well, at least in the first half or the first quarter. So you'll be looking forward to that.
Those first halves with San Jose State back in the day too. Some of the low scoring defensive monster smash them out football games.
Yeah, and
watch.
You know that football is all about preparation, and you get certain coaches like Brennan who prepares well. So you can lock those teams in for the first quarter because after that it could get haywire. But hats off to the Spartans, man. I wish them good luck, and I hope Brennan keeps his job, and even more, I hope that someday he gets pulled up to some higher schools and show some more of his talent.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we're gonna keep it moving on over to the team with all the controversy, the Nevada Wolfpack. They bring in Ken Wilson, first year coaching, first year at the school. He's 0-0. His offensive coordinator is Derek Sage. Defensive coordinator, he has a co-coordinator, Kwame, I can't say the last name, Ageman and Mike Bethia. So he has co-defensive coordinators, and he's a defensive guy. So this is his first year over here at Nevada. Last year, Nevada was 8-5, 5-3 in conference, 35 points a game, 77 on the ground, 347 in the air. I think that's something we'll see totally different in the Nevada team under Wilson. The defensive side of the ball, they allowed 26 points a game, 186 on the ground, 220 in the air. I think we'll see a change immediately in that area because this guy is a defensive guy and great teams are built off of defense. So technically, Nevada actually had a good season in 2021. Despite Norvell leaving, Ken Wilson steps in. I don't know what to say much about first-year coaches. Maybe I should have put this guy on the coach review list so I could learn a little bit more about who Ken Wilson is as a coach. You got any background on Ken Wilson, Big Ragoo?
No, just other than he was up at the up at Oregon, more or less, defensive guy up there. Not a whole lot. I don't have a lot on him. Just basically, not a whole lot on Ken Wilson. Actually, I know they were dead last in the rush, 129th or 130th rushing category. So they're going to have to. They got a lot of areas to improve upon. With the departure of Carson Strong and Norvell, it's rebuild time for these guys. For sure, but not
I
a whole
think
lot
too,
more.
but I think Ken Wilson. I mean, and we can it just happened right here on the show, right? The element of surprise is definitely in the play. We don't really know much about what this guy's going to do on offense. Obviously, Norvell has some talent, even though he took some of them with it. He left some offensive talent behind, scoring 300.
What do they have offensively returning?
Well, they got they with the quarterback, they don't, of course, Carson Strong is gone, but they got the backup Nate Cox. He's battling it out with Oklahoma State transfer Shane Illingworth. And Illingworth's a pretty good quarterback that was over there at Oklahoma State.
Right.
Got in, he got a little run in last year too. So that I say he has a proven quarterback on the offensive side of the ball. At running back, the top two rushers, Toa and Devontae Lee. They'll be coming back along with a couple other people with depth, so they should be stable at running back. But me personally, I mean, Tua and Lee are both like straight ahead power runners. And I guess in Norvell's system, the run just wasn't a priority. So
No.
I don't see them as magnificent players because they haven't been put in the light to do that. But being that they both stay with the new coach, maybe there's a running attack coming for us, and that's why they're staying behind. But we'll only know once the season start. At receiver, this unit was hit the hardest with the players that Norvell took. I think he took like 4 receivers with him over there too. I think it's 3 or somewhere up in there. But the biggest area he took players from to go to Colorado State was receiver. At offensive line, he was hit real hard. They only returned 1 starter. They looked to all new talent and transfers to make up for offense that rushed for only 77 yards per game and gave up 44 sacks. So I wouldn't say the offensive line was the best. So a fresh new start over could be a good thing. We don't know. But like I said, the element of surprise will be the biggest thing with this team. And if Utah State and Blake Anderson can come over and do it, who said that this guy can't, especially him being rooted in defense. So
yeah, like you said, the rushing game was non-existent for this team. You know what I mean? So a lot of unanswered questions. Whatever's left behind, he's going to have to definitely pick up the pieces. I know defensively wise, they were like right towards the middle. On the scoring side, giving up like 26 points per game. Passing wise, they had pretty good pass defense, but they had a hard time stopping the run. So the run's their key thing for them, stopping it and developing it. And then, like you said, with Illman coming over from Oklahoma State, good quarterback. So that's a good building block for him. So it's definitely a rebuild all the way around. And the bottom 3 teams in this side of the conference, it's going to be rough going.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And on the defensive side of the ball, where Ken Wilson is supposed to excel, he doesn't get much back on the defensive line. He lost his top 4 tacklers at linebacker. The defensive back is the only area where he returns a little bit of depth, and that group is the same group that only allowed 220 yards last year on the grounds. I mean, in the air. So that could be significant to putting things back in perspective. But like I said, we only can see once the season starts. But I wanted to look for one particular thing before we jump out of here. I want to make sure I got it down. The most exciting game that Nevada will play is going to be on October 8th versus Colorado State and their old coach. Yeah. I am so anticipating watching that game right there because, so much dirt was thrown.
At home too, right?
Yeah. So much dirt was thrown between Jay Norvell and Nevada and, the decisions that they made and how Colorado State fits in the whole picture. That's just going to be an interesting game to watch. So y'all stay looking out for October 8th when Nevada takes on Colorado State with the coaching change.
Well, here's the good thing about their schedule. They got to play New Mexico State on the road, right? Then they play Texas State and Carson at Word. So if they can get 2 out of 3 of those, it's little momentum builders for them. But after that, they're going to get to the meat and potatoes. So maybe they win 4 or 5 games this year if they're lucky.
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure too. I don't see them as one of the worst teams. They definitely could pull out some out of conference wins, and maybe a couple in the conference. Who knows?
Yeah.
But let's jump over to we're at the bottom side of this side of the conference. So this is just an interesting story. Another slickster, I think, right here, coaching wise. I don't know. This guy just gives me bad vibes now, and I was so optimistic about him. When he came here, and that's Marcus Arroyo over here at UNLV, the running Rebels right here. This is his 3rd year here. He's 2-6 overall, and he has offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, defensive coordinator Keith Hayward. But Arroyo, he really puzzles me. I mean, 2-16 is hard to even explain why or whatever. But this guy, like I said, he's been kind of a slickster here in Vegas. Vegas got the money and the facilities and all that kind of stuff, and they kind of gave him everything. I mean, he's the coach that opened up the new stadium, so major stadium at that, right? But I think he's just being a slickster here because he hasn't really been able to put it together on the field. Like, he hasn't did no better than Danny Green right here with UNLV. He's probably did worse, and we expect so much more out of this. UNLV is, Las Vegas as a city is just building and building, and no way they're gonna stay in that stadium with a losing record like this 2-16. So this year, this guy's seat, I'll heat his seat up myself right now. It's burning. It's burning. They only scored 20 points on offense, 109 yards rushing, 202 in the air. They allowed 32 points a game, 171 on the ground, 236 in the air. So it's no doubt on there either, if you watch the game, that they are receiving the talent. Like, you see guys make outstanding plays. We've seen some of their quarterbacks play well for a quarter or half a quarter. We've seen that they have some peaks of athleticism and everything on this team, but I think they're just being mismanaged by Marcus Arroyo. I think that they haven't settled down with a scheme. Like I said, another team where they haven't made a clear or decisive. Are we run first or are we pass first? Like, you got to choose a side and build from there. And they haven't choose a side, and balance is not working for them. It's just, I hate to see such a wonderful school and a place that I love to hang out at be so bad, Big Ragoo.
Well, Roy, he used to be the old high school coach locally there, wasn't he? Wasn't he the?
I think so. I think so, but I think his whole thing was they were going to put up more money to get a better quality coach, and they got him out of Oregon, so they felt that he had that type of flair to him. And Vegas was interested in spending a little money to get some quality.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Gonzalez, but I know he's got two. If you want to look at anything positive about it, I mean, if you're trying to look through the weeds and see something positive, the 2 wins that he got were he won 2 of the last 4 games, and it's been 2 years, so I guess his first year is winless, and then he won his last 2 out of 4. 4 out of, I don't know what order where he split them or they won them back to back. I have to go back and look at the right here. We'll go back and look now, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think he won the last 4.
Yeah, he won. He lost the last 2. He beat New Mexico and Hawaii, won at New Mexico, and then he won at Hawaii. Then he lost to San Diego State and Air Force. And that was the end of the season. But
yeah,
another positive, when I was talking about a couple of years back when I was looking at Tennessee, how they recruited very, very well. Their 5-star recruit, Harrison Bailey, was a quarterback, and I guess he's now landed miraculously in Nevada somehow. So he's probably going to be the starter. What that brings to the table remains to be seen. But he was a guy that I was high on a couple years back, as one of the top quarterbacks in the country recruiting wise, and Tennessee wound up recruiting this kid. Now all of a sudden I see he's transferred out to UNLV. So they must have promised him the moon and the stars. And plus he probably didn't, originally recruited by Tennessee, they kind of went went south over there with Pruitt getting, axed. So he was kind of looking for home to play. So now this is where he winds up for his senior year. Or no, I'm sorry, sophomore year, because he was a red shirt. So I guess they're looking to him to kind of maybe build upon. So that's a positive. He's a talent. We'll see how it transfers on the field, whether they are able to harness and develop him somehow. But if Arroyo doesn't produce this year, I think you're going to see him gone after the season. If he don't win 5 games, I'm going to predict he's going to be fired.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if he doesn't put out, he's going to get fired. I mean, Vegas is bringing in NFL teams. They got plans for a baseball team. They got plans for basketball teams. This team has been around here for years and years and years, and they do really well in basketball and some other sports. There's no way that they're going to sit here and not pour money into making these teams better. So if he doesn't get it right, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out the door. But I would go deep into player by player. But, I mean, basically, if you look at it in a nutshell, this guy is digging deep in the transfer portal, JUNCO players. I mean, he got a good win with Bailey. I'm not sure if all the other players that he got are even of that caliber. But the guy was known for his recruiting as well. So he might have pulled a couple tricks out of his sleeves to get, some unseen talent or something like that. So basically, to me, when it all comes down to it, he's right there at the crab table. He got the dice in his hand, and he get ready to toss him on out there and see what he gets. And if Bailey helps him out big time, we could see a whole nother UNLV team. But if not, then it's gonna be all downhill from here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's his 3rd year, so he'll probably get one more year after this, possibly. But he's definitely on a hot seat. That's burning real hot right now.
I mean, well, after the 0-10 season, the first time, or 8, I think it was the short season when he didn't score none. But they were mentioning Vegas people, they complain a lot. They was complaining already after that. He came in and settled them down, saying, "Hey, I didn't get enough time because of the pandemic to train and all this." And then the state opened up a little bit more, and then last year they looked at it as, "Hey, you had some facilities, you got full rank of the facilities, you had some time to get everything together," and he got the 2 wins. And this year I think this could be the one. I don't think, what is he gonna say if he doesn't perform this time? What is he gonna say? They beat and lost the what is that, the Fremont game against Nevada? They beat and lost that maybe I think it's 4 times in a row or something like that. So those are big things down there, and it matters. Bottom line, it does matter.
That's their version of the Ohio State Michigan game, or Florida State game.
The Fremont Cannon game. Y'all beware of that one. Mark that one in your calendar, man, because they make a big fuss about that. They got the big cannon thing. They bring it out, and I think if you go downtown Vegas, you can see a little replica of the Fremont Cannon as well. But we'll see what happens with UNLV, man. I love for them to get it together, but if not, I'm going to take a chance at going over to Allegiant Stadium and watching a UNLV game for $7.
When is that game?
I don't know, but
it's the 26th of November.
26th of November. That's towards the end of the season, the last game, huh?
Yeah, last game.
Yeah, so hopefully that'll be good. That should be a really good game, because by then we'll know where Nevada is. We'll know where UNLV is. And from looking at it, so we gave Nevada about 6 wins. So UNLV, I don't know if they can get in the 6-win category, then that'll be a nice game to see who maybe goes to a bowl game or something at the end.
Maybe it won't be one of your favorite betting opportunities, like we like to call bum fight.
Bum fight. Yep, you gotta take the home team in that one. But let's jump into the last team of the Mountain West, man. We did a good job. It's only been an hour and a half, Big Ragoo, and we did both sides of the conference.
Yeah, really
good. Off to us. But we jump into this last one. I was going to get my guy, Micah Vanderpool, to come show up with us today, but our schedules didn't meet. He's so many hours behind us or whatever. I'm going to have to figure out a comfortable time to get him on there, because he's in his senior year. My man graduated already. He's looking forward. They sent him out as a representative for media day. I guess it was because of his great the great job he does on his YouTube channel doing videos. So for the video for Hawaii on their trip to Vegas for the Mountain West Media Day, he was one of the candidates to go on. So y'all can find that. I reposted it on Twitter this morning. Y'all can find that. Take a look at my man over there hosting the show and all the good stuff. But despite that, my guy Vanderpool is one of the best linemen on that offensive line. I seen him last year when everybody fell short. He was still out there pushing people around. So hopefully he gets a chance to get a shot at going to the draft or something, and we can have him on, and enjoy some of that time, because he loves Who-Bangin. We love him too, and we're going to get him back on the camera with us. But I hate to go through his team like this because they have him ranked last, and it looks so bad. But I don't know. Playing over there on the island, they always have an advantage on most teams that come over there travel-wise and all that stuff, the time going back, all kinds of stuff. So they always could pull off some wins or even a winning team. But they received their ex-quarterback as coach now. That's Timmy Chan. He's first year coaching, head coach, and his first year at the school. He brings in offensive coordinator Ian Shoemaker, defensive coordinator Jacoby Yoro. He's another alumni choice, and I don't know if this is a trend or a thing, and I don't know, maybe we'll do a show about this one, Big Ragoo, or is it just what teams are supposed to do as far as keep dragging in people mostly because they're alumni? Actually, Timmy Chan, he actually has a decent background coaching, but big part of the reason why he's over here is because he's alumni. So he gets a team that was 6-7 last year, 3-5 in the conference, 28 yards on the 28 points a game on offense, 142 on the ground, 262 in the air. But they upside down, they gave up 31.4 points a game. They let teams rush for 156 on the ground, 290 in the air. Basically, the offense, they had their good days and bad days. I mean, seriously, that team, you don't know which one you was going to get from week to week. But, it is what it is. I didn't really see big reasoning that they fired the coach. I mean, he didn't have a terrible season. He competed, maybe 3-5 in the conference, but he was 6-7 overall. But maybe they just wanted to go with Timmy Chan better. So that's where we at. What do you think about this coaching move right here?
Well, I think there was some other locker room issues with Graham that something to do with the practices and just some behind the scenes stuff that I guess they didn't really like there. Without going into great detail, but for the most part, I like the I'm not I can't get my words out. I want to say it so fast, but with Chang, he's got notoriety, number one, like you said, alumni, and I think what they're trying to do with him, and I think this is part of the university's theory too, is to get him in there because he's the all-time legend over there with yardage quarterbacks. He played for Jones back in the day, all the great offensive 600-yard games, passing. So he went and got Shoemaker from Eastern Washington, who knows basically that same offensive scheme that Chang ran when he was a quarterback there, the run and shoot, the RPO, the pistol, all those type of schemes. So he's a very offensive-minded quarterback, and that's where they really like the defense. I mean, we're looking at defensive numbers. Nothing too impressive about Hawaii because with the Hawaii scheme of things, you always had to outscore your opponents, and they were big. That was their whole philosophy was on offense. So I would kind of like to see Hawaii play a little bit more of a defensive role, but I think they're going to start with what they know best, and that's what Chang and Shoemaker bring to the table is the offense. So I think you're going to see the run and shoot offense come into play real quick here, and I think. I've read stories where he's been working with the receivers first, to kind of bring them up to speed. And then quarterback wise, I think they're going to develop and they're going to be able to score points. They're going to have to beat some pretty tapped defenses though in the Mountain West because there's some guys that like to play defense in the Mountain West. So maybe, like you say, maybe they come over to the island and they're kind of, I'm going to say relax vacation mode, but they have the advantage when they come over there, and then when they come across the pond a little bit, that's when they're really going to have to be super sharp and they're going to be focused. But to start off with, I like the hire. I like Chang. I like the coordinator he's bringing with him. So we'll see how that develops, if they get back to playing Hawaiian-style football, with the big offenses.
Yeah, that's what I think it really comes down to. And many people in the world might disagree with an all-offense team and mediocre defense. Real players and bettors and all that, we appreciate good defense. So I think they want to switch back over to that, high, and they're calling it the air raid offense. So they're going to go with the air raid offense over here. They brought in the offensive coordinator and a coach that could do well. They lose a lot of players on defense and don't return many at well. They return 1 on defense, 4 on offense. They have 4 seniors on offense, and the 1 returner on defense is a senior as well. So the defense is basically shot. And I think that's probably where it deferred with Todd Graham and the Hawaii office, because he was trying to play defense. He was he was planning to slow teams down a little bit. But
yeah,
I don't think they want that. They want to score, and, all that good stuff. So I think they got the right guy for the job as far as that concerns. But it could take some time for it all to develop. But, I mean, when you got the interesting situation about Hawaii, it was the quarterback situation. So they get Washington State transfer Common Cooper, and then they have last year's Braden. I can't say this last name. I'm just say Braden. But they're going to bout it out. But they have this guy. He's actually started at Pitt, transferred to Arizona State. His name is Joey Yellen. And he's waiting for clearance to play because he transferred, I guess, too many times. So if he gets clearance to play, he'll probably be the starting guy in this air raid offense. If he's a starter, they have a better chance at pulling this off in the first year. If the backup from last year comes in, the transfer from Washington State, he could do well. But this guy could be the guy if he goes in there. But he hasn't been released as of yet. So we'll see how that goes on offense. So another team that we just have to watch. But I would say this will be one of the greater teams to do an over on a future, because I think they're going to count them out a little bit too far. They're probably going to have them at like a 2-win season or something like that. And I think they get to 3 or 4.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I got marked down 3 or 4 myself. I think we see that just on maybe like the shock factor. If they're able to bring these receivers along like he's been trying to work with them, with himself. Because don't forget, he's a quarterback. So he knows what he's going to implement. So he's already probably running those drills with these kids and everything. So if he gets the right quarterback, like you were saying, the transfer that's kind of sitting out from Arizona State, it plugs him right in, and maybe the kid from Washington State to kind of step up, the backup. So we'll see. I think they're going to definitely develop the offense first, and then the defense is going to kind of tag along.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick. What do they have? Hawaii. Here they are. They got it right where we got it, Big Ragoo. Over or under 4 wins for the season.
4. Yeah.
So I don't know, but if it would go to 3.5, I think I'd jump on it. But at 4 for a future, that's not a lot of value to me. So I'd rather play that one out game for game and see where we can find it. But that's it for the Mountain West. We did a good job today, Big Ragoo. I thank you for coming on here and spending some of your time with these people out here. We want to thank them also for coming and showing up in the chat. My man Daryl Turner, G Martinez, my man Jay Money stopped by, Don Plazer stopped by, and also Ish Snizzle came on with us at the beginning. We appreciate y'all out there, man. Anything you want to say to the people?
No, just keep bringing, just keep hopping back with us. I know it's going to get – the season's going to sneak up on us before we know it. We're going to be doing whatever, we're going to do our breakdowns, however we put them together, and then, just keep tuning in. We'll keep putting these things out for you guys. And like I say, I think the first week of September is when we have week 1, right? But when is week 0? Is that like the last week in August, or is that the first week of September?
I believe it is the last week of August. I think the 29th, I want to say.
Yeah, very, very limited amount of games. But, after the Labor Day weekend, that's when it kicks off. But, yeah, we'll still be doing these. We'll be bringing them back to you week in, week out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go moving forward to like I said, the individual matchups. I don't want to do nothing too crazy. I don't want to cap Incarnate World and Colorado State, nothing like that. But any of the important games early, we're gonna hop on the show. Probably do about 5 of them at a time and break them down. As far as the Mountain West, I definitely want to go over some looks to where the Mountain West can win an out of conference game, because they do pretty well out of conference
and the bowls.
And I think it has a lot to do with the 4-2-5 and the 3-3. 3-2-5s, or 3-3-5s and the 4-2-5 defenses that they run. I think they run it the best out of a lot of conferences. So I think that's showing up. So we'll weigh that out and put that versus some other stuff and go into some other things. But that's about it, man. Appreciate everybody from hanging out.
All right, man. And I'll see. Hey, I'll see you in a couple of days, more likely, right now.
Oh yeah. Make sure y'all come back too, because I think I'm gonna do some recording from my phone when we out there. This trip is a Who-Banger All-Star weekend for us right here. So
Dom Ricci, Teece.
We're gonna have Dom Ricci, Teece. Is gonna be a lot of the home team over there. I got the wife putting together some nice gifts for y'all, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna film it up.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Really,
let the people enjoy it. But that's it, man. Let me get to the outro. Where we at? Uh-oh. Here we go. Let's get to the outro. Thanks for showing up. Keep looking out for us. Make sure you follow us. That's both of our handles on Twitter to stay up with all the new information. Let's go.
The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show. Here we go.